Hey everybody, Chris Matan here, Real Estate Machine Show. We're going to continue on with the series. This is episode 9, believe it or not. And I'm going to do something a little tiny bit differently now. You know, we're talking about real estate and we're talking about manufacturing, but I want to add a piece to that. I want to add the piece of personal development. Personal development is an extremely important, I think it's an extremely important part of my life. And, you know, everybody should have some sort of personal development piece to their life because we all want to get better. We all want to improve. We want to improve our skills, but we also want to improve our, you know, take the best of our personalities, maximize it so that we can get along with people, be, lead kind of a healthy, productive, and, peaceful life, and personal development, at least in my opinion, is, one step towards that. If you can add some sort of personal development piece to your life, to your daily habits, it's amazing where you can go. You look back on where you've been and where you are today. You add a piece of, for example, patience. I think patience is such a major part of life that, people tend to get really excited and their hair is on fire. But, if everybody would just take a step back and take a breath and, maybe count to 10 or something, you'd be surprised how unimportant whatever that fire was really was. So anyway, talking about patience, that's one thing that I've brought to my real estate business. I try to be patient while working on deals, while working with clients. They say time kills all deals, but I don't know if I necessarily believe that. Time could be a killer, but it could also be a validation to the deal that you're working on and everybody else involved in it. So being patient along the way throughout that transaction process, could pay off in spades in the end. I think everybody, when they get into a transaction with each other, the goal is to make the deal and, get the thing sold and closed and, get a buyer into a new property, a seller, relieved of that property, and, somebody like myself, a broker, paid. So patience goes a long way. Now, patience on the shop floor is a whole nother animal. To be patient with machinists, to be patient with customers and vendors and parts and machines. You got to be patient with the machine sometimes, because sometimes the machine gets messed up. There's an alarm, something goes wrong with that machine. You got to be patient. You can't just take a hammer and throw the hammer at it. You have to show some patience when you're looking at a print. Maybe something isn't quite clear. You got to call somebody to get the answer, maybe an engineer or a purchasing agent, or get some sort of clarity on a part. But you need patience to kind of wait for that answer to come through. You don't always get those answers right away. So to have patience on the shop floor, it's kind of like slow down to speed up. You ever hear that before? To slow down is to speed up, because if you kind of take your time in the beginning, in the front end, the overall process will probably get shrunk, as opposed to, running like a mad person in the beginning and trying to get everything done, and then you make a mistake, and then you have to step back 2-3 steps and you have to start over. Maybe you have to spend money to get back to where you were or something. So just to kind of have that patience on the front end is important. And patience is personal development. It comes from understanding yourself, understanding your limits, understanding other people, putting all those things together. To be a little patient is an invaluable trait or value to kind of hang your hat on. So, it's one of my, core values. It's part of the Modern Success Formula. Some of you may have heard of that before that I talk about. But again, I think that patience on the shop floor, whether you're the shop foreman, the owner, a machinist, or the guy sweeping the floor, everybody has to have patience with each other, patience with the machines, patience with the customers and the vendors. And, hopefully it comes out, everybody comes out on top and, with a good result. So I hope that was meaningful to you guys, and we'll catch you next time on the Real Estate Machine Show. Have a great day.